This episode of the Busted Wide Open podcast is brought to you by Blueberry. Blueberry offers the best media hosting, accurate listening stats, and their all-new PowerPress Deluxe sites, a no-setup WordPress website for your podcast with all the necessary links to share your show with the world built right in. If you currently produce a podcast and are looking for a better media host or looking to start a new one from scratch, head over to orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO and sign up for the best media hosting and a PowerPress Deluxe site to get your first month absolutely free. That's orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO, or just use the promo code BWO at checkout for your first month free. And with that said, enjoy the show.
Hello, you numpties. This is the villain, Marty Skell, and you're listening to the Busted Wide Open podcast.
You're listening to the Busted Wide Open podcast, dropping the elbow on the hottest topics in sports entertainment and the world of professional wrestling. With your hosts, Nick Howell and Sir Ian Dangerous. Coming to you from the Orbital Jigsaw Network Arena in sunny Southern California. Welcome back to the Busted Wide Open podcast, our Patron Mailbag series, episode number 33. My name is Nick Howell.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous, and yes, welcome to our show where we answer the questions that you guys send us, and then you guys ask us, and we do our best to try and come up with an answer to. And by you guys, I mean y'all patrons over there on patreon.com/BWO who have signed up for one of our tiers and are supporting this show, for which we thank you copiously from the bottoms of our hearts.
Yes.
Because you are what keeps the show running. So thank you very much for that, and thank you for giving us your questions because they are always fun to answer. If you would like to ask a question, head on over to patreon.com/BWO, sign up for one of our tiers, and you too can have your questions answered on this show. And thank you everyone for listening to us because it's a hell of a lot of fun all around.
Yes.
Nick. So I understand that you tell me we have a lot of fun questions today, and I'm excited.
Yes.
I'm excited because I'm all amped up, man. I've had a bunch of like pixie sticks, so I'm all like jittery. So I'm all ready for Double or Nothing, which is going on after this, and I know we got to get through all this to get to Double or Nothing, but I want to do all the questions too. And Nick, let's go. Yes, I'm ready.
BWOpodcast.com and the links in the description if you're watching on YouTube. That's where all the stuff is. Make sure you're in Discord. You can find a link. You can see it at the bottom of the screen here, but if you're listening in audio, it's probably already past the point that you need to get to the Discord tonight anyway. Get into the Discord. Make sure to follow us everywhere. Sign up for an awesome reward tier, and make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube because we are launching BWO Daily starting Monday evening. It will be up sometime in the evening. But we will be doing a Monday through Friday show right here on YouTube exclusively. So make sure you subscribe to youtube.com/bustedwideopen and got your notifications turned on so you can get alerted anytime those videos go up. But on to the questions. Starting off with Mr. Martin Welch from across the pond. How are you, sir? I know I am a little late for this question, but I forgot it last week and the week before. You both have to choose 4 men and 4 women from any roster in the world and create your dream Money in the Bank match. Oh, and because I'm an ass and obviously forgot the manner I grew up with, hello, gentlemen, and I hope you're doing well this week. Thank you, Martin. I hope you're doing well as well.
Thank you very much.
4 men and 4 women from any roster in the world and create your dream Money in the Bank match. So I'm reading into that as intergender. Are we doing an intergender Money in the Bank match with 4 men and 4 women?
Yes. Or...
He didn't say
I guess so.
2 matches. He said a match.
A match. All right. So 4 women off the top. Asuka, I've got to throw in there because I'm an Asuka mark. I fully embrace it and admit it. Meiko Satomura, just because I want to see the 2 of them in a ring again together.
Okay. She might die though with a ladder match.
And then. I don't care. No, she's not. I do care. Hold on. That was horrible. I do care. She dies. I don't think she will. I don't think that's Meiko Satomura is not going to die in a ladder match.
Okay.
Jesus. Asuka, Meiko Satomura, Charlotte. I'll throw in Shayna Baszler into that. I'm just going to get marky on this. I'll take all my mark outs. Be like, yeah, that'd be a sick, because if this is intergender, That's 4 women who believably can do intergender matches as well.
Yes. Are you done?
Yeah.
What was did you get a 4th? I heard
Asuka, Mako, Charlotte, Shayna.
Oh, okay. I would also include Asuka.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw Tessa Blanchard in there. I'm going to throw Thunder Rosa in there. And I'm going to go for a curveball and throw a Kelly Klein in there.
What?
Yeah, dude. There's my 4. And then I'm going to take a... Oh, all right. So there's our 4 women. How about our 4 men? Ladder match. Money in the Bank ladder match.
I'm gonna say it's a ladder match. Ospreay Ricochet.
Yes. Oh God, yes.
Ospreay Ricochet. Hiromu Takahashi.
You don't even need 2 more men. Just those.
Too late.
Yeah.
Hiromu Takahashi. I'm throwing him in there.
I just feel his neck.
Oh, he'll be fine. He's fine now. Do you see him? He was rolling around on his neck the other day. He wanted to prove how good his neck was.
Okay.
And Pac. Beat that.
I'm gonna go Phoenix.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go Kenny Omega.
All right. Have my attention.
I can't not. All right. I don't want to be the same as you. I want to put a heavy in this one.
Okay, of course you do. Of course you do.
Lance Archer.
Why even need a ladder?
Right.
He gets up 2
they
steps.
Can just climb up. They can just climb up him. Right. And for the wild card, I'm gonna sprinkle a little hot sauce on it and put a Minoru Suzuki in there.
What?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mako Satomura, and you're like, oh, she's gonna die in a ladder match. You put Murder Grandpa in there?
Murder Grandpa in a ladder match with Lance Archer, Phoenix, and Kenny Omega.
Are Lance and Minoru still on a team? Because Lance was Suzuki-gun.
Yeah, you never know. They could team up. There you go, Martin.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at
I
all.
like both of those sets, actually. I'm kind of a fan of both of them. You went for the high flyers. I went for the heavy hitters, except for Phoenix.
Yeah.
Which you need at least one in there to do crazy spots off the top of ladders.
And also, Martin, you're welcome. We're not doing this all in accents yet this week.
Yeah, there you go.
Although
I resist. Ian seems to be up for it, but I'm not doing the challenge of all the different regions.
Just wait, lad. It's coming for you.
About all that I know is a terrible Yorkshire accent because one of my best mates is from Leeds.
See, now you actually have to do a terrible Yorkshire accent.
Well, here's the funny thing. Like, when I would have Skype, I would go over to his place and I would have conversations with his mom and on Skype, and I could not understand an effing word she said. She might as well have been speaking Yiddish or Russian or something. Like, I had no idea. She was speaking English. It was just Yorkshire.
So, reminds when I go visit my Glaswegian family. Can't understand a word they say because they say it so fast. The Scottish accent is just like, what? Well, the last got glass. Go on these till we find out what did it. Hey, what? Hey, out in the fields of the sheep.
And I'm not going to dare try to do the Cockney gangster East End London accent because just there's too many C words used.
Right.
There's too much colorful language used.
We're not a family show, but we're not that kind of show either.
Right.
All right. Well, so maybe accents in the future at some point we'll embarrass ourselves, but not today. That day is not today.
Since we normally do movies too, I'll throw a recommendation out there. If you like that kind of stuff or you're into those kind of movies, one of the best worst movies I've ever watched is We Still Kill the Old Way.
Oh wow!
If you like East End Cockney gangster movies,
I was gonna say Cockneys versus zombies, but I guess we come from a different world there.
Oh no.
Okay, moving on.
Yes. Next up, Jake. Thank you, Martin. Next up, Jacob asks, "Poof! You get to be transported into the body of any wrestler in history to have a true front seat to a match. What wrestler and what match do you choose? Hope all is well."
Oh man.
I would absolutely want to be at WrestleMania 3.
No, you have to be the wrestler. You're in the wrestler. You're in the wrestler's body.
I have a front seat to a match.
Your literal front, you're literally
in the
match. Yes.
You have to be in a match. What match do you choose?
I would want to be Steamboat in the match with Savage.
Really?
Oh God.
What? Just
or Shawn Michaels in the match with Taker.
Or?
You know, well, I'm trying to think of all my all-time favorite like dream matches that have happened over the course of history, and just
see. So I went for. I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking of like it's got to be one of those moments where at the end of the match, you get that like all-time pop, like Daniel Bryan at the end of WrestleMania 30, Kofi Kingston after beating Daniel Bryan last year, like one of those all-time feel-good pops. And for whatever reason, this is sticking in my mind, but I would want to be British Bulldog beating Bret Hart at SummerSlam in Wembley.
Wow. I didn't see that coming.
The feeling, oh my God, hometown, like that's an all-time feeling right then. Like that's a Jesus Christ, I should retire after that kind of moment. And they put on a fantastic match too. So knowing that you crushed the match and you won in front of your home country and they're losing their freaking minds and it's enormous. There's so many people.
That is a good one.
I've got to go with that one.
What if you're Shawn Michaels and you get to retire Ric Flair with "I'm sorry, I love you"?
Oh no, that's a horrible feeling. No, I would not. No, I would not want. No, I wouldn't want to be either of them in that match. No, And I know, you know what else? I wouldn't want to be Mick Foley in Hell in a Cell either. Okay,
no.
So there's legendary matches I would not want to be a part of.
Yep.
I don't want to be Undertaker facing Brock Lesnar at 30 either.
No, I'm gonna stick with Steamboat having the match with Savage at 3. That's gonna be mine, I think.
Oh, Marshall in the chat actually says he want to be Hogan when he turned at Bash on the Beach and had trash thrown up. One of the greatest heel turns of all time, if not the best. That would have had to have been so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Cool. What if you could slip in, not a match, but you could be Mean Gene, witnessing live right in front of you the magic of the Mega Powers.
That handshake.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
The Mega Powers coming together. Yeah.
Together, brother. Oh yeah.
That would be fun too. It's not a match, but yeah, be Mean Gene in front of Hogan and Savage doing their thing.
Yeah.
Oh God, that would be fun.
Coming together. Oh yeah.
That was a fun one, Jacob.
Oh, the two hands joining up together. Oh, dig it. Not bad.
Thank you, Jacob. Next up, Jesse asks, in terms of overall revenue loss, impact to the industry, and/or careers destroyed, what do you think the 5 worst booking decisions in history are?
Ooh.
I mean,
okay, so
Jesus.
I'm real opinionated about this.
Okay.
I think we had this question either a while ago or we did a bonus episode of something about this, but like, I truly feel the worst. I mean, you can talk about the end of days of WCW, and if I'm doing a top 5, you've got to throw David Arquette winning the title and Kevin Nash tasing Goldberg as being 2 of the worst booking decisions ever. Those have to be 2 of them. So end days of WCW have to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
But the fumbling of the ball that WWE did with the invasion angle, and I'll even so invasion angle and Stone Cold turning heel are 2. I'm going to say 2 of the 5 as well. So you've got Arquette winning the title. No, Arquette winning the title. Nash tasing Goldberg. Stone Cold turning heel. But then the invasion angle as a whole.
Okay.
Was so freaking bungled, it destroyed, like you can watch the ratings, you can watch the revenues. Them bungling that was the biggest drop off in the history of the industry, bar none, hands down. You can't argue it. The numbers are there. The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for WWE. It turned everybody off because you jobbed out and made look like fools an entire organization that people were watching. And some of them were crossover fans with WWE. Some people were like hardcore WCW people, but some of them were crossover. They're doing both. But they genuinely cared about people on both brands, making DDP look like a goon, an idiot, a psycho, stalking the Undertaker, and he couldn't win a match. He lost a match to Undertaker's wife. That insulted everybody who ever rooted for DDP in a WCW. Right? they couldn't get any of the big guys, so they had all the mid-card guys and made them all look like goons. And then you brought in ECW as well and made them all look like goons, except for the couple of guys who stood out, like Rhino and RVD, who kind of, managed to rise above the rest of the crap. It was completely bungled from start to finish, and there's never been a bigger drop-off in viewership or revenue than in the years after that. It's the reason why when they talk about how great it was, the Ruthless Aggression era, Vince going, well, we've screwed up everything, so I need someone to come and step in. Stone Cold and The Rock are gone. That wasn't the reason you screwed it up. Is because you messed up the invasion angle.
Yep.
You could have survived without Stone Cold or Rock if you hadn't made Booker T look like an idiot, DDP look like an idiot, all these people that you bring in from WCW, and you make the WWE guys look like gods. But you still, I could go off on this. The invasion's got to be the worst.
No,
one.
a little bit of context is important here, so I appreciate that. The other thing that they highlighted in Ruthless Aggression was that they didn't have any. They bought WCW, right? We had that whole big thing. I bought them. That we had that whole big thing, and then over the coming next year, none of the names that we really knew from Monday Nitro came over. Like none.
Well, they all. It was better. It was more lucrative for them to sit out their contracts and get paid from Turner than to go over to WWE, because WWE wasn't paying them that much. So all the mid-card guys came over because they were like, well, crap, we're not making enough money. Let's go. They all got made to look like idiots. So then guys like Sting were like, no, I'm not going to go there and be made to look like a fool. So instead of having all of this influx of talent, which they could have made so much money with, they decided to insult this whole company because they're petty and they were the competition. They insulted them all, insulted the fans who cared about them and watched them. And instead of taking that money, taking that ball and running with it, they threw out the door, and they took their viewership from 8 million people down to 4.
Yeah. I'm gonna do one more. You did 4. I'll throw a 5th one in there when we can move on. I think Vince. First of all, I want to say I love the Mr. McMahon being a foil for Stone Cold. I loved the dynamic back and forth, but he never should have taken the title off of him.
Who? What?
McMahon.
Should never have taken the title off of
Stone Cold.
Oh. At which point? He took it off him. Oh, he should never have won it from him?
Correct. The Ministry of Darkness stuff, wasn't it?
That was like at their peak. That was when they were at their high. Like, so it obviously wasn't a revenue loss.
I understand, but that felt like the beginning of the end.
But he asked specifically revenue loss. What was it? Impact of the industry. What was the other? Careers destroyed? Was the other one?
Overall revenue loss, impact of the industry, or careers destroyed. The 5 worst booking decisions.
It's got to be that era, because that's where you go from the top to the bottom. The middle of McMahon takes the title off of Stone Cold. We're still riding high, and we have a high industry. No one's losing their jobs over that. That was still good stuff.
That's true, but the funny thing is, like, all of the things that we've talked about so far have all kind of been concentrated in that sort of 2 to 3 year time span, haven't they?
Right.
A big part of them. The acquisition of WCW, the invasion and the botched invasion angle, the not pushing your WCW superstars as they make their entry, McMahon and Stone Cold, and like all of that stuff happened all sort of within the same 3 to 5 years.
But according to Jesse's terms here, we're talking about impact of the industry. I could say that Roman Reigns winning the 2015 Rumble and the super push of Roman Reigns for those 4 years hurt WWE intensely, and it actually changed how the whole industry is, because it exacerbated the rise of the indies, which then WWE pillaged. And it pushed a lot of other people down the card. The same with the super push of John Cena. You could also say the booking decision to have Hulk Hogan run rampant over all of the territory stars that Vince brought in the WWF in the 80s was a terrible business decision. But yet it actually ultimately made the WWE such a huge powerhouse that it actually helped the industry. So I would actually argue counter to that. But around that era, Sergeant Slaughter turning heel created one of the worst buy rates in WrestleMania history. So Sergeant Slaughter going heel
during the Iraq War
be considered on this. Yeah, in the middle of the Iraq War could have been considered one of the worst decisions.
When Schwarzkopf was at peak superhero status, right?
Oh, dude, Sergeant Slaughter.
Let's turn Sergeant Slaughter. Let's make him give him some foreigner heat. Jesus Christ, guys, come on. Yeah, that was a terrible one, but I don't know if it changed the industry though. That's the big. I think you're absolutely spot on. The bungling of the invasion of the general introduction of WCW into WWE was just a complete.
That 1 to 2 year period, Stone Cold heel turn and the invasion has to be, because that's such a huge precipitous drop off of viewership and revenue. That's got to be it, in my opinion.
Shout out to my boy Dooley for hanging out in the chat. What's up, man? Let's see. Thank you, Jesse. Oh, Jesse had a follow-up. He said, which feuds were you dying to see that never actually happened?
Oh, man. Jeez.
Feud? God, I'm struggling to think of it off the top of my head. I'm sure if I had time to think about this, I could come up with them. There's plenty that I've said, oh my God, why didn't we get this feud? Even in the last 5 to 8 years, the last decade, there's been several of them I can think of off the top of my head.
I'm trying to think feuds or matches, because there's times when matches happened, but we didn't get a feud, and it was just kind of like a one-off.
Right.
You know?
AJ Finn Balor. We never got a proper, like an AJ Finn Balor. We had that match randomly in the summer a couple years ago.
Exactly, but it was never a feud.
It was never a feud. Like I
never
was
a feud.
Oh my God, it's the Prince and AJ Styles again.
Yeah.
Yes, we never settled all of that off the back of the Bullet Club turn.
In 92, you had Shawn Michaels and Macho Man Randy Savage, and they had a bit of something happening, but you could have had a match between them that year, and it never happened.
Yeah,
but that was before they believed in Shawn, though, so that makes sense. But it's still like, what if Macho Man and Shawn? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or like one that I always, okay, so, you know, I'm a Jake the Snake mark. Dude never got a shot at the title. Why didn't we have Hogan and Jake the Snake in like whatever it was, 90 or 91? You know, why didn't Jake get a shot at the title?
Good point.
Good
point.
Trying to think more
There's
recently.
a handful of these I could come up with. I think we've all spent the last 5 or so years lamenting over Roman Reigns and his undying push. So it's been hard to find feuds that you wanted when you're too busy and preoccupied with that kind of stuff. But I think of some of the things over in New Japan, we've mostly gotten a lot of the, I don't know if I'd call them feuds, but we've at least seen matches. Sorry, I got the hiccups. I've been chugging Gatorade over here. Powerade.
Ew.
Thirsty. I don't know. Nothing's coming off the top of my head.
Stone Cold Hogan. That was a missed opportunity. At the same thing we were just talking about earlier with the invasion. Like we went for Rock and Hogan.
Yeah, I think Rock and Hogan was bigger though than at the time when they did that. I think it was bigger than Stone. I think Stone Cold. We were past Stone Cold at that point.
That's kind of the problem. Is like the timing just wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
But like, or you know, at the time, I remember being at the time, a Stone Cold Goldberg was like the biggest thing that we could have wanted. And then that timing just never happened on that. Undertaker Sting, you know, timing was never right for that.
Did we ever get
Undertaker Sting? John Cena Tanahashi.
Oh, I mean, that's just dream match shit, right? That's cross.
Yeah. Well, why not? Why not dream match this?
Yeah.
Like prime 2013 or 14 John Cena versus 2013 or 14 Tanahashi. My God. I
can just hear the guitar solo.
Yeah, and then oh,
yeah,
man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jesse. Those are some good ones. Next up, Abraham says, "Hey guys, been a while. Hope to be back live with you soon."
Hope so too, brother. Hope you're well.
We'll welcome you back with open arms, brother.
Yes.
Question: so, what is the greatest match ever? It's not Randy Orton and Edge that we're gonna get. So clearly, Edge and Orton will be good, but not a classic. And opinions on what classifies a match great is up for debate. But what would be Ian's and Nick's greatest match ever?
Oh my God! Come on, man! You make me pick amongst my children. This is beautiful. This is brutality. I mean, I can't narrow it down to one.
Michael's Undertaker at 25. Done.
Oh my!
There you go.
Oh, all right. Well, Nick can. God damn.
3 stages of hell match with Triple H and Stone Cold.
I always throw that out as being one of my favorites as well. That is that's in my top 5.
It's not Edge and freaking Randy Orton at their at their golden age, right?
And you know what? I mean, you know, there's always the argument of recency bias, but we've had more all-time classic matches in the last 5 years than in my entire life before that. And I've gone back and looked.
Yeah.
I've gone back and looked at the old matches that I was like, oh man, those are so good. And I'm like, yeah, but Ospreay Takagi was better. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing, where there's just been so many damn good matches in the last few years between the storylines and the work rate. It's so hard to answer this question now, partly because I'm worried about recency bias and partly because I genuinely do feel like we have seen some of the best wrestling in history in the last few years.
Yeah.
We have. I've gone back and looked at these classic matches. You go back and look at Steamboat Macho Man, which you were just talking about. It's a great match. It's really good. But you put that against, I don't know, Tyler Bate and Walter. You take the Shawn and Brett Iron Man match and put it against Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada going Broadway. It's Okada and Omega obviously put on a better match than Shawn and Brett. Period. Hard stop. Come at me. They did. Now Shawn and Brett laid the framework. You know, Shawn and Razor Ramon with their ladder match. Great ladder match. But I'm sorry, that 6-way ladder match in NXT between all those guys was definitely a better match. It was a better ladder match. It was a better match.
I can't remember who said it last night in the Discord watching SmackDown, but somebody said, you know what would be funny? Watch the Orton and Edge match after all this build-up be a 30-second squash match.
Dude,
They roll each other up, and it's like the greatest match ever, and it's all McMahon going, ha, 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 ha. Right?
I did say this on the show because I was waiting for Raw when we talk more about Edge and Randy Orton, but I'll bring it back up then. They're going so hard into this greatest wrestling match ever thing. I'm sitting here going, this has to be a swerve.
Yeah.
They've got to be pulling our leg. They have to. There's something else they've got to be doing here because it's too much. It's too ridiculous.
Yeah. There was even a thing on SmackDown last night where they were doing now we're going to have a match between Braun Strowman and Miz and Morrison, but they've got the lower third card up for the greatest wrestling match ever. And I'm going, wait, which one are they calling the greatest? Is Braun Strowman in a handicap match versus Miz and Morrison going to be the greatest wrestling match ever now? What's happening?
Yeah, what is going on? So no, it will not be the greatest wrestling match ever. I can think of 15 matches in the last 2 years that will be that are better than this could ever be. And
Daniel Bryan gauntlet match against Evolution at 31. Was it 31? I think it was 31.
Anyway,
for me, my vote, WrestleMania 25. Yeah.
I can't choose one, man. I can't choose one. I can give you a whole fistful.
I can give you 3, but then I'm going to start getting into ties.
Right.
But yeah, that one stands out definitely for me. You can't not say Omega Okada in that conversation.
I've even got fond memories of Ibushi Tanahashi a couple years ago.
Yeah. When
Tanahashi won the G1. I just got goosebumps even thinking about it. All right. But yes.
Yeah, we got to go. We got a pay-per-view to watch. Thank you, Abraham. Let's up Brad. Hello, Phenomenal Ones. I hope everything is still staying safe out there in this new normal. Since this whole stay-at-home edict, I've found myself looking into more podcasts and searching out new music and groups, at least new to me. Just wondering what Ian and Nick are listening to podcast-wise or discovering new bands. Besides the BWO podcast and Conrad's stable of podcasts, I've been binging the No Sleep podcast, audio horror series, or stories, and some true crime series. I've also found a few new bands I have been playing on loop: Motionless in White, A Day to Remember, Falling in Reverse. One surprise has been the HU band, the Who band, Mongolian Metal.
Yes.
Really? You have my attention.
I found a song of theirs the other day that they did with Lizzie Hale. That was pretty cool.
Ooh.
Yeah, from Hailstorm.
Pretty damn intense and would make some great entrance music if one were so inclined. Check them out on
Very
YouTube.
true.
I will be looking into Mongolian Metal. So, Ian, do you listen to other podcasts from time to time? Do you find yourself listening to podcasts?
You know what's funny? I don't as much as I should. I've kind of stuck to my wheelhouse because I've been kind of doing much more concentration on wrestling stuff. So I've been pretty much sticking to the wrestling podcasts that I normally listen to, Wade Keller and Meltzer and Jericho and when he's doing it, Stone Cold and all the typical ones,
Yeah.
Trying to stay away from our competition, except for, unless they're my boys like Going in Raw. Just because I don't want to hear someone else's podcast and then second guess what we do on this one.
Or have introduce bias into our own opinions and things like that.
Introduce bias or just change how we do our show. So so I've actually not been going out of my wheelhouse on podcasts. So I'm afraid I don't have anything new to bring to the table on that one. As far as bands, the last new band that I just kind of started grooving to, I was really jamming to Pelican for a while there. So, and that led into Cloud Kicker. So it's been kind of, what would you call it? Like post metal kind of stuff where there's no lyrics. It's just kind of like put it on the background and just something to jam out to.
It's Final Boss guitar music.
Kind of.
There used to be a station or a group of folks on Pandora that I would listen to 15 some years ago. It was called Black Magic, and it was nothing but like Final Boss, Final Fantasy music, and it was just crazy guitar solos, like endless minutes of Tanahashi's entrance, if you could think about it that way. Right? It was just that crazy kind of guitar riffs that you'd have during final bosses in video games. I'm looking through my Spotify here, and there are quite a few that I've discovered. There was and funny enough, through NXT, I found a couple of bands like Wage War. Triple H has introduced to as an NXT thing, but they've got several really good songs. Check out Wage War if you're into the metal. But my big one that I slept on but found late is called Blood Simple.
Oh yeah,
Blood Simple is doing. They did some really. I discovered one of their albums randomly on Spotify from like 2007, and in 2019 it was my most listened to thing for the year. It's crazy how much of their music I listen to. So yeah, check out Blood Simple. Check out Wage War if you're into metal. I tend to go back and listen to a lot of throwback stuff too. I've been really into Wu-Tang recently. Like I've rediscovered Wu-Tang.
I hear they're nothing to F with.
No.
The whitest thing I've ever said in my life.
No.
I hear the Wu-Tang Clan is nothing to F with, as they say.
Yeah. Shaolin Shadowboxing. Wu-Tang sword style.
I actually, it's funny because I haven't discovered a whole lot of new stuff. Since this has all been going on, I've been going back to, like you said, I've been doing throwback stuff. Like, been just crushing Pink Floyd recently.
Oh.
JB actually got me listening to Rumors again by Fleetwood Mac. And I know I'm getting old when Fleetwood Mac's Rumors, I'm sitting there going, this album is absolutely amazing. It's what?
Miss Nix. It's a South Park reference, sorry.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I thought you were on Pink Floyd still. We were doing Animals.
No, you said
Sorry.
Fleetwood Mac, and I'm never mind.
Let me
talk about podcasts for a minute, because this is an area where I spend a lot of time. I do listen to a ton of podcasts. A lot of time that I'm listening to podcasts, I'm also, for the same reasons you said, I'm not listening to wrestling podcasts. I'll watch some of their YouTube shows from time to time, or I'll have them on the other monitor while I'm doing other stuff. I do enjoy what the What Culture guys do, mostly Simon's stuff. I enjoy the ups and downs. I enjoy some of their top 10s that they do from time to time. But for the most part, that's about it for me on the wrestling stuff. Most of my information is coming from wrestling Twitter. That's why you do the news and I don't, for what it's worth. From podcasts, though, mine are mostly documentary stuff. The one I've listened to recently is the story of WeWork. That's a really good one. And then I've also, here at the Orbital Jigsaw Network, we've got one called Historium that I'm a big fan of.
They're good. They're
he
great.
tells a fantastic story, and some of them are short and digestible, and some of them are really, really long. But things like the Haitian Empire as we were discovering America and first building up America, the color blue and what that meant to certain world leaders, the Emu Wars in Australia from a long time ago, right?
Okay.
Right? After a big civil war that they had in Australia, emus were ravaging because they were being overbred and it was overpopulated, so they were destroying all of the agriculture in Australia. So they went out and they waged war. This is a real story. This
is
really
about as far
happened.
from wrestling as you could possibly get, by the way. I just want to throw that out there.
So
Emu wars in Australia.
Right.
Welcome to the Pro Wrestling Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about emu wars.
I listen to historical and documentary podcasts. I don't really listen to other wrestling podcasts because you don't really need to if you listen to Busted Wide Open. So there, I said it out loud. Hi guys. That's me for podcasts. I spend a lot of my time. We have California Dreaming, which is all true crime. We have Ian's Horrorpalooza for horror movies and all kinds of stuff that is fantastic. We've got an Instagram influencer podcast, if you're into that world, with my girl Esther and her two best friends doing one called Swiping Up. That one is skyrocketing. That one's exploding. There's all kinds of good shows that we've got outside of Busted Wide Open and Wrestling. If you're looking to diversify your listening.
Diversify your bonds.
Yes. But great question, Brad. Love that.
Quick shout out to two of the good metal bands I'm listening to right now, Insomnium and God Hand. If you like really, really hard shit, go check out God Hand. They're freaking insane.
I feel like that would scare me.
It did scare you. I sent it to you, and you were like, no, it's too much for me.
Yeah, it hit the bit. Sometimes Ian sends me stuff. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's more you, man. That's not so much me.
It's pretty much universal. Like, you send me stuff, I'm like, yeah, it's got a good groove to it. I send you stuff, you're like, this scares me.
Yeah. A couple of super chats. Kyle says, watch Edge versus Orton turn into a wrestling musical match because they are sampling The Greatest Showman to promote it.
What? Oh, they are.
They license. This is the greatest show.
Randy Orton, superstar.
No,
man.
Jesus. A Swerve Russo couldn't do. Thank you very much, Kyle. Marshall says, $2 in super chat. Bad Wolves is a great listen. I'll check them out. That's a good one.
Bad Wolves. Okay. I think someone threw out Chingon as well, and Chingon is.
Oh yeah.
Chingon is Chingon.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Brandon. Brad. Brandon is next. He says, hi, fellas. I've got one non-wrestling question and one wrestling question. All right. What are some of your favorite characters and casting choices for characters in movies and TV shows? His three would have to be Jack Sparrow, Ted, and Heath Ledger Joker. Three of my favorite casting choices are Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Rami Malek.
Yeah. Oh, no. Don't you come at me with Tom Holland as Spider-Man. He's perfect.
Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury and Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. Yeah, I absolutely think Margot Robbie might go down as one of the better casting choices.
If they could only give her a good movie, that'd be great.
Exactly. Birds of Prey was...
Don't tell them. We have people that worked on it.
We're going to have a conversation sometime about Tobey Maguire versus Tom Holland.
Matt, if you're listening, Birds of Prey was fine.
I could not possibly agree more of the Rami Malek casting for Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, again, too bad it wasn't for a good movie for him.
Well, I like Mr. Robot too, so I'm kind of a fan of his.
You're partial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of your favorite characters and casting choices in movies and TV shows. What do you have examples of the perfect castings for TV and movies?
I mean, I'm gonna have to. I mean, this is tough because I could say, Toshiro Mifune is Musashi Miyamoto would be one of the greatest of all time in the Samurai trilogy, but that's a deep dive. I think probably, Kane Hodder is Jason, but going more recently, like I just watched every one of the Marvel movies back to back, and Jesus Christ, if Chris Evans isn't the most inspired choice for Captain America, I mean, you could say with a lot of the Marvel choices, but that dude brings something to the Captain America character that is so ineffable. And if it wasn't there, it would not have had the impact that it did. You could say the same thing about Robert Downey Jr. and Tony Stark, except that Tony Stark is basically Robert Downey Jr. writ large.
Yep.
And it's where and Captain America is more Chris Evans. Chris Evans is Chris Evans, but he's definitely not playing Chris Evans when he's playing Captain America. He's playing Captain America.
Yeah.
And I would say the same thing about Thor, where he's just, he's kind of playing a heroic version of himself. There's something that Chris Evans brings to Captain America. I don't know how they will ever replicate it. I don't. Like, you've got how many 18 different guys who've played Batman, and they've all a different interpretation. I don't know how you ever find somebody who nails Captain America the way that Chris Evans did.
No. And same thing about RDJ as Iron Man. And frankly, I'll go out on a limb and say, had RDJ not nailed Iron Man, perhaps the MCU would not have made.
Oh, it completely wouldn't have. I
They
love talking
needed that
about
first Iron Man to absolutely erupt for the MCU
gamble.
that we know today, the 20 films that we know today to have existed.
You know, I love talking about comic book history, and people don't appreciate how insane it was to cast Robert Downey Jr. in a superhero movie at that time and have that character be Iron Man, and what a C-level, no one gave a crap about him character that was at the time. I would love to go off about how insane it was that the whole Marvel universe exists, because it's based on a giant gamble, just like Lord of the Rings, based on a giant gamble. We're not a movie podcast, so I don't want to dwell on it. But yeah,
But the patrons pay to
Love
ask
to.
us questions. I'm going to answer their questions, whatever they may be.
I know. I
You've
feel
had
bad.
enough time. Hang on. You said Lord of the Rings, and that's where I was going to go, right?
Then go. Oh, gee, the casting there. Come on.
Ian McKellen is Gandalf.
Yep.
Done.
All time.
Just never. It couldn't possibly be more perfect.
Well, and Christopher Lee is Saruman.
Yes.
I mean,
I'll throw a Richard Armitage in there as Thorin Oakenshield as well. Just absolutely nailed it.
that's pretty good.
You know, there's a lot of great examples of casting.
That
I
whole
love that
Right.
that Andy Serkis was almost an accident. That he sent in a tape on a whim of doing the crazy Gollum voice that I'm not even going
Right.
to try to do, and he took a shot at it, and they absolutely loved it. So yeah, there's a lot of examples out there of like perfect castings. That you could, but mine are, I look at things like Lord of the Rings, big foundational movies, the MCU, places like that. Yeah.
Well, it's a funny thing if you mentioned Lord of the Rings. You know that Viggo Mortensen wasn't originally supposed to play Aragorn, right? Originally, they actually filmed for 2 weeks with Stuart Townsend. He did the 6 months of training beforehand, and they filmed 2 weeks with Stuart Townsend, the guy who was Lestat in Queen of the Damned.
Oh.
And
okay.
they filmed for 2 weeks with him, and they were like, "You're just not Aragorn." And they brought in, like, their second or third choice was Viggo, and they brought him in like partway through filming. The dude had to learn how to swing a sword while filming, and he ended up being the guy who did the sword stunts for that movie. Had been doing it for decades. One of the most legendary sword, and I feel terrible for forgetting his name, but he's one of the most legendary sword choreographers in history. He also did Princess Bride. And he said that Viggo was the most natural swordsman he ever worked with. So I could go off on Lord of the Rings stories too.
I'm going to give Dynamic J the win. Jean-Luc Picard, or Patrick Stewart is Jean-Luc Picard. Win. Done. I'm out. I'm not even going to fight that one. That might be one of the best ones ever.
Well, then and also the coup.
Spider-Man, whatever.
The coup. Oh, shut up. He's fantastic. Who's been better at Spider-Man?
Tobey Maguire.
Oh no, go! Not another one. God damn it. We're not going down that path.
All right, so
The whole
wrestling
rest of the
question because
podcast.
we got to get out of here. Quick one.
Yes.
Do you prefer Peyton or Billy? I'm a Billy Kay guy. I know Sheriff McDonald is a Peyton Royce guy. I'm a Billy Kay guy. We've had this conversation between the two of us. Sorry, Jared, for outing you.
No
but
explanation. Peyton.
fair.
Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. Yeah, man waited 15 years to play Deadpool. Amen, Marshall. Okay,
Wow.
we're going to get stuck on that. That's going to be a whole podcast. That's a whole podcast.
We might have to fire the concession stand back up with me and you at this rate. We'll bring Andy when he's not buried with work.
Right.
Thank you, Brandon. Next up, Billy asks, "Hello, my friends. Wasn't going to ask anything this week. Just wanted to give you both a big thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
I gave up on all wrestling podcasts, basically. Stumbled upon you. Knew you were different. So thank you for just being awesome dudes. Thank you, Billy.
Aw, dude.
In typing this out, I had an epiphany. Controversial statement I'd like your opinion on. There's very few actual wrestling fans anymore. Only fans of backstage politics of wrestling. They only care about dirt sheets, what Uncle Dave has to say, what companies people should sign with, and who gets pushed over what other guy they have a personal affinity for, not understanding all the analytics that goes into who gets pushed and when. You know me, I watch and love everything, but it seems most others just to hate watch and only pay attention so they can complain."
I have a quick response to this.
Okay.
Maybe not quick, but I have a response to this. And that is that when you go online and read forums or get any kind of feedback, you're listening to those people only.
Yeah.
You're not hearing from the people that are just going there to watch the fireworks and the big moves, and they're bringing their kids and they're just enjoying it and not thinking too hard about it and not doing all the things that you're saying. You're not hearing from those people because they are, by definition, more casual about it. You're only hearing from the hardcore people online. And as with any sport or any interest, a lot of people tend to be very opinionated. If you look at people talk about football teams, Jesus Christ, the amount of vitriol and second guessing and couch quarterbacking that you see just in American football, and I'm sure it's the same in international football, soccer.
Premier League is
rugby.
You talk about toxic.
Baseball. Good God. Baseball. You talk about toxic. He shouldn't have put that batter in then. Like, it's across the board. It's not just wrestling. And when he says that there are very few actual wrestling fans anymore, I disagree with that. I think that there is a good percentage of the fandom that can be very toxic, and their reasons for liking wrestling are maybe not, I don't know, pure isn't the word, but it's not just for the love of the product. They want to feel mentally stimulated by it and get some sort of superiority feeling from it. Like they know there's a gigantic culture going on right now, I think, in civilization as a whole, of feeling like an expert on something.
Yeah.
Right. And the first thing I'll tell you when you listen to this show is I don't say that I'm an expert on this. I watch a shit ton of wrestling. I watch a shit ton of a lot of stuff. Nick, I know you do too. And from digesting all of that, I have opinions based on that experience. But I'm not by any means saying that I am the be-all, end-all, or that I have all the answers, or that anything that I say is an absolute truth. But a lot of people want to say those things and say that, well, I know better. And that's just not true, but it makes them feel good. But that's not just wrestling. That's everything. So
think about why you go on social media. There's usually 2, maybe 3 reasons. One of the most strongest one of those is to express an opinion or to share something that you saw and what you think about it. It's opinionated posting. Most of it is. That's kind of most of what it. Sure, you can share pictures of babies and you can show pictures of pets and you can share openly like that. But most of it, especially in any sort of sport or movies and TV or anything like that, is usually to express an opinion. And the problem is that was fine in the beginning, but what it's turned into is sort of this validation mechanism where you're either intentionally trying to poke at somebody because you want to be an antagonist, or you're looking for a validation, an echo chamber of validation.
Sure,
right?
A bias confirmation.
Confirmation bias, exactly. It's that kind of stuff. So it's one of the big reasons you don't see me in particular or our show account engaging that much, other than sharing news and things like that on Twitter specifically, is because of that very reason. I don't want us to be perceived as some kind of end-all, be-all, know-it-all organization. I can't imagine what Dave Meltzer's day must be like responding to tweets.
He deals with a lot of crap. That guy gets a lot of crap. And honestly, like, compared to a lot of people that are out there in a similar position to his, although probably not as obviously tenured, he deals with a lot of it. And I don't think he deserves it. I think the guy is, there's a lot. I'm actually very bullish on Dave Meltzer as a whole. I can, obviously level critiques at him as anyone can, but I think the guy, for the most part, is trying to do his best. That being said, one of the things that he's talking about here is that people are more interested in the backstage stuff. Well, that's because kayfabe's been broken, I feel. And now that it's been broken, we engage with it the way that we do any other entertainment media. And they have whole magazines, or they used to have magazines back when magazines were a thing. They have whole websites devoted to the backstage politics of making a freaking movie or a TV show. Who's sleeping with who? What producer paid what to get involved with the project? Are they having financial problems? Are they having reshoot problems? What stars are in it? What are the negotiations to get which star in which movie? These are all things that, it's not just the wrestling business. But now that the wrestling business has been, for better or for worse, exposed as being another entertainment product, it's going to be treated in a similar way, where we're interested in how it's made, as well as just the actual, product itself, the stories that are being told there.
Yeah.
People who are watching TV shows, Game of Thrones, everyone's wondering, hey, what's the budget going to be for the next season? They're not just asking, okay, they just killed so-and-so, how are they going to come back from that? They're doing that, but they're also asking, what are they going to be able to write the final season as well as it should be written? The answer, of course, is no. But yeah, so I don't think that there's not fans of wrestling anymore. I think that they're consuming it differently, but also that the loudest voices in the room are those ones that you're hearing here. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of people that are engaging in it, but just aren't doing it with that level of vitriol. But unfortunately, you find that kind of across the board.
Yeah. It's really not wrestling specific. There's a certain kind of people that like to be
loud.
Poke.
Right.
Like to poke constantly and try to elicit a response. And unfortunately, Dave is more than happy to engage them in their
They're
trolling.
the ones that want to pull on the dog's tail to get a reaction as opposed to petting it and training it and,
Couldn't have said it better. Exactly.
So
let's see. He says, once again, thank you both. Thank you to all the phenomenal ones. You are all simply phenomenal. And
Phenomena. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you, Billy. Next up, Yardy. Hey, guys. I hope everybody's doing well. My question this week is, what are some of the best wrestling documentaries to watch?
It's a slice of time, but, Beyond the Mat, obviously, was a classic. The Rise and Fall of ECW is around here somewhere. And then they've got that in conjunction with, because that's a WWE production, so they spin history on it. But then there's another one, which is the uncensored story of ECW. Watching those at the same time, you get both sides of the story. Guys who are, in WWE, and then the guys who are out of WWE, and you get more of the whole picture. I'm trying to think what else.
Dark Side of the Ring going on right now. It's in its second season.
Those are fantastic.
It's some of the most unbiased stuff that you'll see out there.
And it's funny because we are seeing more wrestling documentaries now that a lot of the information is being released and they can kind of talk in shoots more often. The actual movie documentaries, there aren't many made about wrestling, and certainly not independent of WWE. Because WWE
friend of the
has
show,
footage.
Nick Nemeth, is making one right now called Heel about sexual assault and abuse.
That's not a documentary, though, isn't that? That's not a documentary.
I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is.
Oh, I thought he said it was based on reality.
It might be a reenactment or sure, okay. But I feel I got the vibe from him that he was.
I got the vibe he was based
on
true
real events.
Yeah,
right?
but not a straight documentary.
Not a documentary. Okay, fine.
That's the thing is any documentary that's produced by WWE, you have to take with an enormous block of salt.
Yeah.
Because they rewrite history on
a cow-sized salt lick.
Big old salt lick. Because they rewrite history on the regular. So, and they are the ones who seem to produce the most documentary content. So, finding independent documentaries about wrestling, you can just go on YouTube and there's a bunch of shoot interview sites, which is essentially some of the best stuff you're going to get as far as that. Ric Flair 30 for 30 is a great one.
Yeah.
The Honor of the Giant special they did was the Honor of the Giant special they did was okay, although Vince and Hogan just screwed it up, made up a whole bunch of history. So yeah, there's some suggestions for you.
Yeah.
A lot of great books. A lot of great books out there, like books on wrestling, more than documentaries, by the way.
Thank you, Yardy. Next up, Mr. Mop Man himself, Sean Clark, says, gentlemen, peace, love, and blessings to you and all the phenomenal ones. I mean it, guys and gals. Hang in there. Because stay-at-home orders and isolation can seriously F with your head. So if you're struggling, reach out to somebody. The only thing wrong with you is thinking there's something wrong with you. Everybody is going through it. See, I mean, that's the Mop Man.
That's why he's the Mop Man.
That's why he's the moment of positivity guy right there. Thank you, Sean. Book this 6-match pay-per-view, AEW versus NXT. The two sides work cooperatively, not Vince buys it like Nick King.
Yeah, Nick.
One kickoff show gimmick match and 5 main card matches. What would yours look like?
Real quick kickoff show match would also be a ladder match like the one we're going to see today in about half an hour.
Yep. We got to hurry.
We got to go. Ladder match with NXT. Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Phoenix, Pentagon Jr., the Best Friends, and Birch and Lorcan. I don't know.
Huh?
That's the opening ladder match. All right, cool.
I'd watch the shit out of that.
Matt Riddle versus Pac.
Ooh,
Oh.
that's good.
Matt Riddle versus Pac.
Did we ever get a proper Matt Riddle Keith Lee match in PWG, or was Keith moved on at that point? I remember we had Keith Lee Chucky T, we had Keith Lee Walter.
Oh,
Did Matt and Keith ever? Because I'm thinking Matt Riddle Keith Lee.
dude, what about Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, and Dominik Dijakovic 3-on-3 tag match
Versus the Dark Triangle.
versus Death Triangle?
Death Triangle. Oh.
Yeah. Or versus or instead of Pac, save Pac for another match and have Lance Archer and Lucha Bros. Okay, then we got to roll here. Adam Cole versus Hangman Page. Redemption for them writing him off of the Bullet Club.
Nice.
Nice.
Pay that off from years ago.
Pay that
Holy
off.
smokes.
Yep. I'm trying to think who else is in NXT, right? Kenny Omega versus Finn Balor.
Oh yeah. Jesus Christ.
And
see, I would go AJ Styles, Kenny Omega. Let's bring that back.
AJ Styles is not in NXT.
Oh, never mind.
Come on, Nick. Come on. I thought you were the booking.
Sorry, I thought we were doing WWE, but
I thought you were the booking man over here.
Well, in my world, they bought him, so it's fine.
Okay.
But we can't use that.
Fatal 4-Way. Io Shirai, Rhea Ripley, Chris Statlander, Britt Baker.
Yeah. Damn.
And then, whoa, this is tough. Moxley versus Walter, main event. Come at me.
For some reason, I want to see Moxley versus Velveteen Dream. I can't explain it.
Okay.
But I want to see. Here's how I'll explain it. I want to see the complete polar opposite styles. I want to see pure violent striker versus exuberant, sort of androgynous flamboyance in a sort of kind of almost in a high flyer style where he's jumping off of stuff and coming after Mox like that. Like, I feel like for some reason those would really go together well. Yeah. I don't know. Nick booking.
That's some Nick booking.
Yeah.
All right. There's your card. I'd watch the crap out of that.
There you go, Sean. I would watch the hell out of that.
I'd
Absolutely.
watch the crap out of that.
Yeah. Next up, Kyle. I feel like this week in particular has been particularly sad and negative. So this week,
brutal.
I'll give you guys a question that hopefully gives everyone a bit of a smile. What video game do you go back to always gives you that wrapped up in a blanket mom giving? Wow. What?
I got this.
What video game do you go back to always?
That always gives you that wrapped up in a blanket, mom giving you hot chocolate or a glass of milk, warm and fuzzy feeling?
Just to provide an example, for me, it's the original Paper Mario. I always come back to that game for that warm, innocent feeling it gives off in its characters, music, and imaginative world. I mean, there's an entire section of the game in a toy box. It's hard to get more wholesome. With that said, what game give you guys that wholesome, comfortable feeling? If you don't have a game, feel free to share whatever piece of entertainment does it for you and why.
I got a couple.
Do you have a game?
I got a couple.
What? Go for it.
I got a couple. I got to throw Braid out there just because it's a throwback, but damn, Braid gives me that warm, fuzzy feeling, like just wanting to huddle up and play that game and, sip something wholesome. But then as far as giving me that throwback nostalgic, mom's bringing me hot chocolate, it's got to be Super Metroid. Or it would have to be Super Mario World.
Yeah.
And I was in Japan for a little bit when I was young, and I remember at the time it was before the Super Nintendo had come out in the States. But in Japan they had the Super Famicom.
Yeah.
And every day before I would go to school, I'd wake up and I'd be eating chocolate Rice Krispies and sitting and it was cold out. And so in Japan, you have the tables that are set into the floor, and you can sit in the and there's a hole in the floor, and you put a blanket the blanket's attached to the underside of the table, and you put the blanket up over your lap. Under the table there's a heater, so you stick your feet down into the hole in the floor under the table, and you're all warm and toasty under there under this blanket. And I would sit there with the Super Famicom, barely understanding anything that's going on screen. I can't read anything pretty much. It's all in kanji, and playing Super Mario World before I go to school. And so when it finally came out in the States, I already knew like half the game and beat it before all my friends. But yeah, that definitely Super Mario World gives me that feeling majorly.
Legend of Zelda, original one for me.
Oh yeah.
Once a year, I still go back and play through it. I can blow through it in a few hours now.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, it was like the game that I could not beat when I was a kid in the 80s playing it. I had the original gold cartridge for NES.
Yeah, same.
And somewhere along the long story, but it got sold.
Yeah, the Zelda on Super Nintendo too was another one that's like just the way it starts off.
But I mean, the one that I go back to and constantly play is the original.
Because you're old.
Yeah, old man.
Yep.
Getting kind of old. You can see it in the beard. It's starting to turn gray. Most of my games were in the heyday first-person shooters, and then I really got into RTS games like Command & Conquer and StarCraft and Age of Empires, and then I discovered World of Warcraft that in 2004 that I still play today. I literally have had a subscription every month since December of 2004. November of 2004.
Dang.
Yep. 16 years. Cheapest hobby I've ever had. Even cumulatively. It's the cheapest hobby I've ever had. Thank you very much, Kyle. We got to get moving. Josh, you guys get an interview with Jim Cornette. You each get to ask 5 questions. What are you asking him? As always, thanks for keeping us all sane during this crazy time. So here's what I'll say. I don't know that there's a question I can think of that he hasn't already addressed or asked in his series that he did with what's his name, where Jim Cornette buries the universe. And I mean, he's literally answered every possible thing you could want to ask Jim Cornette about wrestling.
You know what? I won't ask him about politics, and I won't ask him about any kind of social issues, and I won't ask him his thoughts on modern wrestling. But I'll pick his damn brain on old stuff. How it was in the old days and that kind of thing. Like, that stuff's fascinating, and that's really all I want to hear him talk about. Because aside from that, it's all pretty toxic. But as far as a mind for old wrestling, I mean, you see him being interviewed on Dark Side of the Ring right now. He's fascinating. The guy is an orator. And his way with words is unique, sometimes for better or for worse. But when he talks about the way things were and how things, I just want to sit and listen. I mean, I as far as like what specific questions I would ask him, I have to do a little research on where he was and what he was doing specifically to really kind of nail that down to 5 things. But it would probably be questions along the lines of, "Hey, tell me about this match." Right. How was it to work with so and so? You know what I mean? Like, it would be questions along those lines, and just let him Cornette off about something.
Hearing him tell the stories of the startup, leaving WCW, starting up Smoky Mountain Wrestling, how he was just told, well, if you don't like this, maybe you should just go home. And they did. They actually just walked out and left, and they called him and said, "Hey, are you coming back?" And he was like, "No. I'm not coming back. I'm going to go do this other thing." And they were like, "Really?" Just stuff. He is a story. Yes. Yeah. He can be a triggering, asshole, racist dickhead sometimes.
Yeah. He's always working.
But exactly.
He's always working.
Exactly.
Questions like, "Hey, man, if you had to take one person for like some of the questions we get, like, if you had to book this, how would you do that?" You know what I mean? Like, I would love to ask him the question we just got about, booking AEW versus NXT match. Even with his thoughts about AEW, like, okay, what would he book? That I would be fascinated to know who he values, who he thinks would make good matches.
I'd love some of the Patreon questions.
You get a good card. I bet you'd get a good card from him.
Yeah, you would.
Doing that.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Josh. Next up, Esme. She says, "Hola,
Booby Champ."
Oh, we're doing Latino now. Okay.
Oh my God.
Hola, Papis.
Oh, Nick, don't do it. Let me do it, for Christ's sake.
Okay.
Hola, Papis. Solo tengo una pregunta hoy. ¿Quién es tu favorito luchador mexicano? quien actualmente está vivo. So basically what she's saying is, hello, I've only got one question today. Who's your favorite Mexican luchador who's actually alive, who's still alive right now? Who's your favorite living Mexican luchador?
Pentagon.
Rey Mysterio, dude.
All right.
I mean, let's not take the obvious choices. Who else? I'm a big fan of Barbario Cavernario. I love Volador. Dude, Aerostar I think is underappreciated. Also
He's
gonna have to
one
throw it out
crazy
there for
dive from
Atlantis.
death. That's his problem.
Psycho Clown is great. I've been fascinated by Dr. Wagner ever since he unmasked. He's still out there doing shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always got love for Blue Demon, and he's still around. That guy he's classic luchador cool to me. You know what I mean? Because he shows up in a suit with that beautiful blue mask, and it's just awesome. It's awesome. I also put a movie in the Facebook discussion group recently that was it was Blue Demon and El Santo versus the Monsters, and it's basically just this goofy I mean, it's not intentionally goofy, but it's them fighting these big rubber monsters, and it's out freaking standing. So
nice.
Yeah, there's a few. Oh, Hijo de Vikingo, the son of Viking, is. You might see him show up in AEW in the next year.
She asked for your favorite, not all of them.
Oh, sorry.
Who's your favorite? Rey Mysterio?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Rey, because Ray's still around. He's the greatest. He's the greatest currently alive.
I gotta say Pentagon. I'm still absolutely obsessed with the Pentagon Jr. we got in first season of Lucha Underground.
Yeah.
And he's still kind of playing that character across AAA. Across AEW,
but it's watered down. It's watered down.
It
hurts.
I think they got to give him a singles run in AEW, and I think he'll redeem it. You know, I feel like the teaming up with Phoenix is what did that a little bit.
Fingers crossed.
Yep. Last but certainly not least, Marshall. Thank you very much, Esme. Great.
Thank you, Esme. Thank you,
love. Recently listened to an episode of 83 Weeks that went over the forming of the NWO. The most interesting segment of the story was who the third man was going to be, and Eric said that Sting was going to be the guy if Hogan didn't commit. Oof. How much different would the history of wrestling be if it were Sting that would have been the leader of the NWO rather than Hogan? Thanks again for what y'all are doing through this Nia Jax themed reality. Nice.
I mean, obviously history would have been very, very different, and I don't know if WCW would have been competitive to WWE if that were the case.
No, they needed Hogan. They needed a recognized figure.
100,000%. They needed to have not only that, but there's a reason that Hogan's heel turn is considered one of the greatest heel turns, if not the greatest heel turn of all time. It was a absolute paradigm shift. It was a complete changing of the landscape. It subverted a lot of things that people believed about wrestling at the time. It took a lot of people's childhood heroes, and it was the perfect timing for that because people that were raised, with Hulk Hogan, say your prayers, eat your vitamins. If you were 8 years old, 1988, if you were 10 years old, 1988, as I was, 11, then Hogan was the epitome of everything good. So he turns, and all of a sudden is like this kind of
and you're old enough
evil,
to understand
cool
that he's a dick now, because right.
That and then also it's so watchable. It was so cool, but like also so and then
having 95, right?
And having Sting as the foil to that, where he was like the Crow, and so that was him being the Crow. Sting was super cool. Everything was cool about WCW for a while there, because it was Hogan as a bad guy in the NWO, and Sting was the other guy. If you'd had Hogan be the good guy, I'm not saying that's what it is, but just Sting is the bad guy in NWO. Okay, but it wouldn't have had anywhere near the impact. And Hogan staying a face would definitely not have worked because people were so over that shtick, by that so over. Like it's hard to overstate how done people were with Hogan and his Hulkamania at the time. So, yeah, no, I can't even imagine how different the 90s would have been if it had been Sting instead of Hogan and NWO. It wouldn't have been the same at all. I don't know if we'd had the Attitude Era, I don't know. I mean, everything.
That's a good point too. Like
Because the whole point of the Attitude Era was they had to combat Hogan and then the NWO in WCW. That was their big draw.
Yep. Just wow. I'm sitting here trying to process, like, okay, so Sting is in the Hogan role at the front of NWO. What's Hogan? Sting, to combat Hogan, had to put face paint on and was flying down from the
he had to
rafters
get
and
he
the
had to get
catwalks.
gritty too. He had to get gritty. We had to get like a Sting was basically the WCW kind of Hogan with like hey, I'm a surfer dude, woo, you know, like he had to go dark to combat the darkness.
So
but it was cool. It was edgy.
Reverse that. What does Hogan do in that role? I ate my vitamins this morning and Hulkamania and no, it doesn't work.
Ain't gonna work. Ain't gonna work. And Hogan is like Crow Hogan is basically what he was in the NWO anyway, and it worked then. Wouldn't have worked if he was a good guy doing it.
No.
What did he have to do when he came back to WWE? When he went good again, he went right back to Hulkamania, red and yellow.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Well, for a minute, Hollywood Hogan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's all our questions. Thank you very much, guys, for all of your amazing questions every single week that you guys bring to the table. They're always a good time. It's one of our favorite things to do every single week. We love you guys for it. And those of you, special shout out to everybody in the live chat here on YouTube. Thank you guys for showing up. For those of you listening at home, on audio only, you're missing out on the live broadcast here. So you can come back and watch it on demand on YouTube, though, right here at youtube.com/bustedwideopen. Just make sure you subscribe to the channel and got your notifications turned on, because we are also introducing on Monday our BWO Daily Show, where we'll bring you short segments, short videos of the hottest news of the day in professional wrestling and sports entertainment. So make sure you subscribed right here at youtube.com/bustedwideopen. You can also find us over on Twitter and Instagram at BWO Podcast. Over on Facebook, come search for Busted Wide Open and get into the discussion group, as well as liking our page for all kinds of other good stuff. And get into the Discord, because we're getting ready to jump over here in about 15 minutes and watch AEW Double or Nothing happening tonight. Pay the $50. Those guys and girls are working hard for you, and they earned it, and they deserve it. Make sure you guys are contributing to their continued work and success by doing so. We support that wholeheartedly. Last but certainly not least, again, patrons, this show is for you. Thank you guys for all of the questions. We couldn't do it without you. If you'd like to get in and ask your questions every week, head over to patreon.com/BWO. All you got to be in is that $5 tier at the bottom. Just $5 a month, you can get your question in every single week, and we'll answer it here live on the air for you, just as we got done doing today.
Yeah.
But my name is Nick Howell. You can find me on Twitter at DataCenterDude.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. You can find me on Twitter at Sir Ian Dangerous.
But by God, would somebody stop the damn match?
This show is part of the Orbital Jigsaw Network. For more episodes, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher Radio. For details and show notes from each episode, check us out, orbitaljigsaw.com.